What is going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back with a brand new episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last episode was the hardest thing I've ever gone through while recording. Last time we found out why Satoko hadn't come to school was because her uncle came back to Himizawa, and we found out that, well, he's abusing Satoko, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. Not a single thing we can do except wait. So, yeah, that was pretty much just last episode. So, let's take a look at the tips. Case 31. December 1st, 1981. Prefecture Juvenile Welfare Division report. Do not view, do not duplicate. Case 31. November 20th. It's pretty close to Satoko Hojo, years old. Residence, Himizawa Village, Shishiborn. Conservation circumstances. Anonymous telephone SOS of child abuse. Abuse situation. Anonymous claims that a female child is suffering physical abuse by adoptive parents, her guardians. Family structure marks abusers. Adoptive father, adoptive mother, older brother, child in question. Note, in June 1980, the child's parents died in an accident, and she was given to her uncle on her father's side, her father's younger brother. Child Concentration Center's response. On the day of the anonymous telephone consultation, the center called the child's school and asked of her situation. The next day, the welfare officer on duty visited the child's home and heard what they had to say. Both adoptive parents agreed to the center's coaching. Contracted anti-abuse network in the city. As part of this suggested coaching, a district welfare officer in the area began visiting for coaching at fixed intervals. Squad note below is stamped to the report. Awaited information from former official Mr. W. Referred to 1977 document D23 number 44. 1977. As Chief Investigator F from the city's Education Conservation Offices, he is well informed about it. That'd be... So that was the case file on the whole child abuse thing that was reported by Satoko, but why would it refer to a different case from 1977? I mean, it's literally just the child abuse case. Why would it be related to an order case? That's interesting. Alright, let's continue and see what other horrible shit we're going to see. I went home and washed the day's sweat off in the shower. Normally I could reset everything by taking a shower and forgetting all the bad things. But that didn't happen today. I got out of the shower to find fresh underwear placed neatly in the laundry basket. Normally I didn't stop to think about it, but today I felt happy at my mother's consideration. At the same time, however, made me realize how much Satoko must be suffering. At the very moment I was appreciating this gentle kindness, Satoko might be being bruised by her uncle's cruel words. I went up to the second floor and shut myself in my bedroom. Then, facing my desk, I folded my arms. My topic of thought, of course, was Satoko. We'd thought that if we could just get a public agency to intervene in the right way, the problem would be solved. But with what Coach said, I didn't think it would be so easy. Satoko was obstinate, and she would stubbornly deny the abuse and trying to endure it. And that was an act of atonement towards Satoshi, who had protected her before and then ran away. As long as she fought that way, the situation wouldn't be so simple. But earlier, before Coach, I made a clear declaration. If I thought Satoko was in danger, then I would do what I had to. In the end, that meant I was just going to wait and see too. Nevertheless, I thought I'd draw a clearer line than Coach or my friends had. If the time came, I would report it. Over the phone. Given Satoko's personality, she might criticize me if she found out, but I believed it was ultimately the best decision. Wait, Kachimara, would that really be all it took for the problem to end? Say that I reported it to a public agency like the Child Conservation Center, what if they stuck to their wait-and-see attitude like last year again? Last year, they decided to do just that, and the situation proved temporarily. But then the aunt, thinking herself a laughingstock, increased her tormenting in secret. Last year. Isn't 1983? From, The reports we saw at the end of Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, it's 1983, yet the case was 1980. Or maybe Ketchy's wrong? It's a weird thing. Maybe I'm misremembering. I gotta check. In the end, things became more underhanded than ever before. This year it was her uncle. I had just seen him for the first time today, but the man seemed much more direct, much more violent than the word underhanded could imply. He wasn't like their aunt. Now let that settle. He was more direct. He might also assault her with punches and kicks. That could easily be discerned from the bruises and such I saw on Satoko's body. Shit. You're too naive, Ketchimaru. However heroic it may seem to report what was happening, if it doesn't save her, then it doesn't mean anything. Reporting things through a public agency was only one option, and leaving everything to them would be dangerous. We would need something more to guarantee Satoko's safety. I scratched madly at my head, thinking, and tilted it back, wanting at least a little bit of calm. The memories of angry arguing with my friends today came to mind. I was embarrassed that I hadn't realized it until Lena said something. She was right. My house is big. Compared to all the houses with the straw thatched roofs in Himizawa, it was really big. We did actually have empty rooms. I've never thought that we were affluent, but also never that we were poor. I just didn't admit it because people would think I was arrogant. But maybe my family really is wealthy. We had a few rooms we could lend to Satoko. The guest rooms are only in use when people related it's my dad's job come and stay every once in a while. Plus, if we cleaned up a few of the rooms my dad uses for storage, they could work for her as well. As for food expenses, that might have been a more serious problem than a kid like me could imagine. Lunch every day would be manageable. All of our friends would just have to bring a little bit more for lunch than they usually did. If everyone pecking at everyone else's food anyway, it would be manageable. For breakfast and dinner, though, that would have to be up to Mom. I would need to convince her to lend Satoko more than just a room. Of course, I don't even think convincing her of that would be easy. But how much did it cost for one person to eat? How many tens of thousands of yen per month? It costs a lot to eat, man. They couldn't complain about it if I shouldered that, could they? I only had 10 or 20,000 yen in savings, but it was something. I actually had even more, thanks to New Year's gifts and such, but my parents had taken all that and put it into a fixed time deposit. If I could get access to that, it should add up to a lot of money. If I got that far, I should ask Mia and Lena to share some of the burden. Of course, I wouldn't depend on that. Lena got mad at me, didn't she? But how I shouldn't just shove responsibility onto others. I'd have to ask for help. Even so, I'd basically be saving her myself. I would follow through on it. No, but it wouldn't be only food expenses. There were a lot of other things that he couldn't do without, like baths and laundry. My mother was awfully methodical and strict about cutting out inefficiencies, and for once that was troublesome. She might even make reference to the money it would cost for the detergent Satoko would use for her own clothes. Couldn't think only about food expenses. I needed more money. Hey, wait, Ketchimaru, since when was all this about money? Even if you could afford it, you would need your parents' permission first. They'd be looking after a young girl for a really long time. What would I say to persuade them? Just calm down a little bit, Ketchimaru, and you realize right away that you can't. Even if you asked them seriously, they would tell you to call the police. Even if you managed to gain their empathy, why should the Maribara family have to shoulder all the burden by itself? It's what would happen. And that was it. It was very sad and frustrating, but no matter how much I wanted to help, my resolution alone couldn't save anything.
そんなにも子供って無力なのかよ。
I felt frustrated. I believed my feelings were stronger than anyone else's. I even thought that they were stronger than Coach's. And yet, at that point, there were 2 knocks on my door and Mom poked her head inside.
起きてたの？さっきからご飯ってずっと呼んでるわよ。
あ、うん。今行く。
As someone practically dependent on his parents, I shouldn't say this, but I just sat around doing nothing and food suddenly appeared. Felt so natural to me that I shamelessly thought of it as the responsibility of the parents who gave birth to me. But when I realized that natural thing was actually right, I came to realize just how hard it was to grant that privilege to others. Even the boring meal in front of me, no better than it ever was, had more meaning than that tonight. There was food for free on the table right now, for Dad, for Mom, and for me. I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to add another plate at the table. Think, Kachimarbara. If it was hard to make food for 4, then just think about how 4 people could eat food made for free. Oh. I changed around the way I thought. With that, I began to consider an unthinkably bold plan. That's right. I didn't need to get my parents' permission. She should just live here in secret. I got upset when I found out a while ago, but if I remembered right, if you climbed out the windows and shimmered down the first floor roof or the gutter, you could go in and out of the house directly from my room. Satoko's physical ability far surpassed my own, so it would be even easier for her. I hadn't even thought about it, but her living here secretly was actually a necessity. I'd only have to bring Satoko to my house when the public agency said they would wait and see. In other words, if Satoko's uncle continued to be her guardian. If, in such a situation, word got out that she was here, her uncle would barge in and drag Satoko back with him. Her uncle was her rightful guardian, so my parents would hand her over without an argument, no doubt. So, I needed to keep it a secret that she was living here. If it needs to be a secret, then having my parents' help would mean a lot, but gotta deceive your allies first, right, they always say. Okay. Persuading my parents was an unrealistic proposition, so I searched for a way to have her live here in secret. When I was around, she would just have to be really quiet in my room on the 2nd floor. The issue was the daytime. If she was hiding from her uncle, then she shouldn't go to school. It might be lonely, but not going would be the better option. Could easily teach Satoko the stuff she learns in her grade. Actually, during school, I mostly help all the younger kids out rather than study my own stuff. During the day, I would need to go to school, so I wouldn't be at home. Parents respected my privacy now that I was this age, so they wouldn't go snooping around in my room while I was gone. I think. If she holed herself up in my room, it would be okay, right? If my parents did come, thanks to where the 2nd floor was, she could hear their approach from the sound of them coming up the stairs. And there would be a little bit of time before they got all the way up, I estimated a few seconds, that she would be able to hide herself in the closet. Wait, Keiji. Something doesn't make sense. If she can't go to school, then what she'll do for lunch? Calm down already. Could just leave her my own lunch, couldn't I? She'll just go to school without lunching and everyone else to split theirs with me. Okay, that's good. No more contradictions or oversights, right? No, breakfast and dinner. Could somehow get her to go without breakfast. Can go with 2 meals a day when I sweep in on Sundays, after all. Every night I pretend as though I had a bigger appetite than I asked for bigger helping. And then I could just somehow give part of that to Satoko. As a test, I stood up from my seat with a plate of fish in my hands.
どうしたのケイチ？ご飯は座って食べなさい。
うん。ちょっと気分が変えたくなってさ。自分の部屋で食べてもいいかな。
ボロボロ落として汚すぞ。食事は食卓で食べなさい。
うん。ごめん。
Hey, wait. I only tried to take away 1 plate of fish and they gangled up on me? In reality, it was impossible for me to smuggle food away without my parents knowing about it. But it must have been worth taking the time to think about. There must be some trick, some method to avoid them realizing. Even if I can't think of one today, I might think of one tomorrow. My appetite was rapidly fading, so I finished early and went back to my room. I went back there and tried to think about it from Satoko's point of view. For example, let's say my parents were coming up the stairs right now. I've got to hide. Open the closet. Quiet. Didn't open quietly. Hey, wait, didn't it always open real smooth and quiet? Why was it suddenly doing this now? Was this house even structurally safe? Was it already showing signs of this decapitation? Were the hinges just not greased well enough? Could I just apply some lubricating wax? The sound itself may have been soft, but it left me uneasy as to whether my parents would detect it happening when they climbed the stairs. But this was an easy problem. I could do something about it. Just had to fix it up a little bit so it didn't make any noise anymore. For now, I'll close myself in the closet as though I successfully hid. I basically always left my futon out on the floor. Couldn't think of any real reason my parents would want to go in my closet. Even so, there still might be some reason they would. I may need to construct some sort of camouflage so that she wouldn't be noticing if they did open it. But the more she worried about that, the less time she'd actually have to actually hide, meaning it would be more likely that he or noise. And then I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. The bathroom? The need to use the toilet, so obvious and yet such a fatal flaw. The only bathroom was on the first floor. It would be absolutely impossible for her to use it without my family realizing. I might need to set up a portable toilet, like a chamber pot, I guess. Satoko would hate it, so she could go in my room. But the stench would be pretty terrible. Anyone sensitive would probably notice the smell without even coming into the room. The bath was okay, though. She could just take a bath when my parents went out. But I couldn't do anything about a toilet. When her stomach started to hurt, if my parents were lazing around downstairs, she'd be in trouble. It was then that I noticed that I had been clawing at my head with both hands. I sat down in the dark closet with my knees against my chest. I buried my face in them and tore at my hair. The more I fought, the more contradictions popped up. The more I fought, the more things failed. The more I worried, the more I was reminded of how little power I actually had. My back started to hurt from staying in that cramped place for so long. But if I wished to shelter Satoko, I would need to force her to feel this pain. To live in such a dark, narrow, suffocating place forever. But it would still be better than being abused by her uncle, or so I wanted to think. It got hard to believe, so I gave it and crawled out of the closet. As I've said before, it's a fucked situation. It's so unfortunate that there's really nothing you can do. I looked at the clock, and to my surprise, it was 3:30 in the morning. Damn. It's 3:45 right now. It had felt like so little time, but it was so unbelievably long. When I realized that, I was slammed with a terrible urge to sweep as if the time had only just caught up with me. Didn't have enough strength to fight it, and I fell flat onto my futon. Shit, just can't go to sleep like this. If I waste any time, that'll mean I'll take in the same wait-and-see attitude that Mion and Coach and everyone else did. I needed to keep worrying about how to rescue Satoko for a minute, or even a second longer than everyone else. Isn't there a better way? Isn't there a better way? That one phrase I spoke to myself swirled around and around in a spiral, and steadily took over my entire mind. For my last moment of consciousness, I thought, there are a lot of blind spots in what I considered tonight, but I absolutely wasn't wrong for having those ideas. Tomorrow I would suggest this bold plan to the others. Mion might be able to help somehow, and Hana was really sharp, so she might have a good suggestion. And above all, we needed to rescue Satoko once again, with everyone helping out. I felt pathetic for letting myself fall asleep. I'm sorry, Satoko. The ceiling bird interview. It was hot. There was a thin layer of moist sweat on me. The voices of the cicadas premeditated in my room were somehow grating to my head.
レ、今日日曜日じゃないよな。
I remember today was a weekday and quickly brought myself to consciousness, and then finally leapt out of bed. The clock read a little before 10. I was totally late. When I wandered downstairs, my mom would get mad at me. There was nothing I could do, though. After reviewing the schedule for the school day for a moment, I suitably rearranged the stuff in my bag. I hurried and got dressed, then went down the stairs. There was no sign of my parents anywhere. What? Maybe they went out somewhere together. So that's how it was. My mother had probably woken me up once this morning, but then I fell back asleep without remembering it. My parents, thinking I'd gone to school, left. Something like that probably happened. I went to the front door, and as I expected, it was locked. Looks like I was right. It was further evidence of my speculation being correct. Not only as my parents weren't here, I suddenly felt less like I had to rush to get to school. There was one portion of breakfast left in the dining room, probably mine. The milk they poured in it had gone warm since a little while ago. And I realized how hard it would be to sneak food for Satoko. Yesterday I cried. Well, thinking back on it, food wasn't the only issue in that regard. I wasn't in a position where I could care for Satoko by myself anyway. It's such a heavy thing just to save a single person. I'd seen this on TV and comics all the time. Those feel-good words about how you save your friends for sure and such. Was that why I ran my mouth like that, swearing to save her because I wanted to feel good about it? No, that absolutely wasn't true. Because the fact was, I couldn't save her. Because I didn't want to think like an adult. Like I couldn't do anything but watch. Had Satoko gone to school today? And maybe I realized that was a meaningless question. Whether or not she did, there wouldn't be a change in the environment she'd been placed in. If I couldn't save her, and no one else could either, then we could only pray for a miracle.
俺たちは無力か。
With a vague goal of getting to school in mind, I sluggishly put on my shoes and stumbled out the front door. I had only overslept by 2 or 3 hours, but the sunlight and air felt completely different from how they usually were in the morning. Well, of course they did. Once 10 o'clock came along, you could barely call it morning anymore. I didn't feel like walking the same old route to school. I did to ultimately end up there, but it was like I didn't want to choose the shortest route, the most proactive one to get to school. But in a more positive light, maybe I wanted some time to walk by myself and think. I had to go to school, partly to make sure Satoko was saved. But I hadn't come up with any plans yet. Nothing since last night. So the path I took from my house was in the complete opposite direction. If I went this way, I'll pass Wenna's house on the dam side. It would be quite a detour. I calculated how long of a detour would end up being, then, satisfied with the answer, I started to walk. Wenna brought me to this dam site a few times. One section of it had turned into an unlawful, oversized garbage dump, and Wenna really liked going fishing for junk in there. Without that, she'd come off as a completely normal girl, too. Can't figure of a few other qualities she could do without, but whatever. The view quickly opened up wide, and I was hit by a strong wind. There was no shelter here at this big dam site. Maybe it was a good thing I came here, I thought. At the very least, it was more healthy to think about stuff in a place like this instead of my cramped bedroom. I took a deep breath and filled my lungs with rich, cold air unique to Himizawa. Ring, ring. Turned around reflexively. There's a bicycle bell. Considering where I was standing, I don't think they were trying to get me out of the way. They rang the bell because they wanted something from me. Oh shit, I'm okay. Hey, excuse me. From Himizawa, right? Yes, why? I've seen this person around a few times. Right, I remembered. His name, I think, was Tomake, a freelance photographer who lived in Tokyo. He would zealously visit Himizawa every season to take pictures, or so me and the others told me, I think.
古出神社ってここからどう行けばいいか教えてもらえないかい？マップを宿に置いてきちゃったみたいでね。困ってたんだよ。
ここから神社ですか？
I knew where everything was in my head, but explaining how to get there was difficult. I was a little irritated that I haven't been bothered for this, but when I realized it meant my detour actually meant something, that feeling faded quickly.
教えてもいいですけど、ちょっと口で説明するのは難しいですよ。一緒でよければ連れて行ってあげますけど。
え？それはかたじけないね。助かるよ。あ、でもいいのかい？君の用事は。
Tomaki-san finally appeared to have realized how strange it was for a student like me to be here at this time of day. Smoothly told him not to worry about it, then turned my back and started walking towards the fruit shrine. Takumi-san hurried to turn his bike around and came after me.
ごめんごめん。気にしないでくれよ。男には組織を離れて一匹狼になりたい時もあるんだからね。
What a free-minded freelancer. It was easier for me too, that he was under that impression. I'm Tomoke, freelance photographer. They specialize in wild birds and landscapes. Still pretty unknown though. It seemed absurd for him to introduce himself when I was just showing him to the shrine, but he gave me his name, so I needed to give mine back. I'm Mayabawa. Pleased to meet you, I guess. Mayabawa-kun, pleased to meet you. You seemed like a pretty silly man, but that kind of felt good, considering what I'd been suffocating with worry over Satoko all night. Along the way, Tomoki-san spoke at length to me about how precious the nature in Himizawa was, and how it was a treasure trove of rare wild birds, despite my not having asked. I wasn't interested in what he had to say, but he seemed to be enjoying himself, so I left him to it.
この石段を上がれば神社の境内です。
ありがとう。
Just make sure not to go into the storehouse, or else you're going to turn up dead.
助かったよ。ああ、ちょっと遅刻しちゃったかな。
Somaki-san mumbled to himself. He left his bicycle nearby and started to climb the stairs quickly. I didn't have a watch, but as far as my internal clock could guess, it was still a little late in the morning. School wasn't very far from here. Maybe I could kill a little more time until then. With that in mind, I went up the steps and pursued Tomoki-san. When I reached the top of the long staircase, I arrived at the wide open shrine grounds that were too grand looking for this tiny village. Tomoki-san. Oh, there he is. It looked like he was supposed to be meeting someone here. Gee, I wonder who. Then he got lost and ended up being late. He was bowing to a lady who must have been the person he was meeting. That lady. I knew her.
あら、前原くんじゃない。こんにちは。今日は学校はお休みかしら。
あれ、なんだ、圭一君ついてきたのかい。
別にそんなつもりはないですよ。ただちょっと時間つぶしがしたかっただけです。
あらあら、重役出勤とは優雅なものね。さすがは有名人。今から大物ぶりを発揮してること。
What? Was I a celebrity? Well, she did say my name out of nowhere anyway. I was oddly concerned about what she meant by famous.
あら、私の名前はまだ思い出せない？
No.
高野美代さんだよ。
Me talking about that's a...
村の診療所に勤めてる。圭一君は健康そうだからあまり病院のお世話にはならないかな。
せっかくお知り合いになれたんだから、今度病気か何かできたらちょっぴりだけサービスしてあげようかしらね。
That sounds just fantastic. This lady named Takano-san, kind of didn't remember her. Maybe we passed each other on the street a few times, but I was pretty sure this was the first time we talked. Well, this is Himizawa. Even if I don't know a person's name, it's not unusual for them to know mine. Glanced at Takano-san and saw she had a bag and a camera. You photography partners?
あ、それで待ち合わせを。
仲間でなんてとんでもない。素人の私に二郎さんが優しくてほどきをしてくださるだけなのよ。ねえ。
ん、あ、そんなことないよ。高野さんは飲み込みが早いからね。僕の指導なんかなくても実に自由に撮影をこなすよ。本当さ。
Couldn't tell which of them was ahead in the conversation. Well, they were certainly one couple you wouldn't get tired of watching.
いよいよあさってが綿流しね。
Really?
今年はいい写真が撮れるといいんだけど。
Yeah, and let's hope you don't get murdered either.
明日の設営シーンからレンズに収めるつもりだよ。そういう準備風景からもお祭りの活力を捉えたいんだ。
No, I just remembered. These where some village festival called Higurashi or something the day after tomorrow and Sunday.
ひなみ沢の守り神お社様に感謝するため古い布団を積み重ねて供養するそんなお祭りでしたっけ？
あら、ご名答。前原くん、引っ越してきたばかりにしては博識ね。
Oh, I feel like I've been here for quite a while.
そう。お社様に感謝するためのお祭り。
Takano-san smiled somehow meaningfully, but didn't tell me what part of the festival to think Oshiro-sama needed to be laughed at.
やれやれ、高野さんは。でもどうだろうね、今年は。
二度あることは三度ある。
Man, they're just really putting up the death flags, huh?
そしてもう4度あったのよ。
Okay.
5度目がないと言える方が何の根拠もないと思うけれど。
I knew what they meant by the whispered exchange. On the day of the Wangagashi, freak death always occurs, which people call Oshiro-sama's curse, and a disappearance occurs that people call being demoned away. These strange events had been happening for years running, and Wanagagashi, rapidly approaching the day after tomorrow, marked the fifth.
村の旧敵にたたりをなすお社様か。今年もあるとして、果たしてその矛を受けるのは誰になるだろうね。あ、僕はここに来るたびにちゃんとお参りしてお賽銭を入れてる。僕じゃないことは確かだよ。
Yeah, I think you'll just be just fine, Tomake. It'll be just good.
あらそう。近年のお社様は異邦人には特に厳しいって話よ。引っ越してきたばかりとはいえ、前原くんはちゃんとひなみ沢に住んでる村人だけど、二郎さんは毎年来るだけのただのよそ者。さーて、今年は見逃してもらえるかしら。
ひどいな。
all the people in this scene right now have died at least 2 times. I don't know about Takano. She only disappeared the first chapter, but she would probably died in the first chapter as well. Tomi-san was the only one with a painted grin, but we were all smiling, me included. Oshiro-sama, the one who used the curse to kill people involved with the dam construction project, one after the next. He killed the dam construction manager, killed Satoko's parents for supporting it, and the next year he even killed her aunt. The demon in a way was part of that curse, and you could add Satoshi to the list of victims. As I thought about it, I realized that in the serial freak death incidents, the overwhelming majority had the last name Hojo. After the deaths and disappearances had come from the Hojo family, the Hojo family lived here in Himizawa. Does that mean Oshiro-sama punished and cursed them particularly harshly because despite that they had been in favor of the dam?
里子のおじが帰ってきたって話は聞いてますか？
Takano-san, who had been enjoying a few words to Tomi-san, was caught unaware by my sudden inquiry.
あ、ごめんなさい。今なんて？
あ、いえ、里子の両親がたたり殺されて、おばもたたり殺されて、だったら順番的には次はおじの番かなって思ったんです。去年のたたりでおばが無残な死に方をし、それに恐れをなして町に逃げていたやつですよ。お社様は確か村を捨てて逃げ出そうとするのは許さなかったですよね。
I didn't intend it to be quite this persistent, but those words, they just flowed out of my mouth without me thinking about it. Alright, Oshiro-sama's curse. I didn't believe in something so unrealistic, of course, but the fact was that every year, unfortunate accidents and incidents happened to enemies of the village. Like Takano-san said just now, it had happened 4 times. No one could say there wouldn't be a 5th.
ふーん、面白い説ね。確かに過去の犠牲者を見れば北条姓が多いのは事実。その延長として考えれば、今年は叔父が死ぬか消えるかする可能性は否めないわね。
We can only hope.
もう高野さんは起こるかもしれない不幸を笑うのは良くないよ。
ごめんなさいね。でもお社様のたたりは私のライフワークだし。
Takano-san gave off a mysterious, somehow intellectual impression, and her wife's work was mysterious in its own right. She probably really liked inexplicable supernatural phenomenon or something.
高野さんはお社様のたたりに詳しそうですね。どうでしょう。北条の帰ってきた叔父がたたりに会う可能性は。
あら何？そのおじさんを殺したくて仕方がないみたいね。
Maybe.
そんなんじゃないです。
どうだろうね。神様の気まぐれ次第だからね。
前原くん、サンタクロースの正体は知ってる？
Okay, what? Huh? I got a strange question all of a sudden, and I couldn't immediately answer.
なに？知らないの？パパよ。みんなの家のパパ。
なんだ、そういう意味ですか。そりゃそうですよ。どんなものの正体だって最終的には人間です。だってここは人間しかいない世界なんですから。全ての現象は人間で解明できるはずです。
I feel like I put that somehow strangely, but Takano-san was not as dissatisfied with that reply as I might have guessed.
あら、その年齢のうちからそれに気づけるなんてなかなかね。人間の世で起こる現象は全て人間の都合で人間が起こす。
Yeah, huh?
では前原くん、もう一度尋ねるわよ。今度はサンタクロースじゃなくてお社様。お社様のたたりの正体は何かわかるかしら？
Well, could be two suspects, but... Takano-san took a step towards me and gazed into my eyes as she asked. Santa Claus was really the parents of every family's children, even if lionizing that legend was a corporate tactic to try and profit during Christmas sales, then what was Oshiro-sama's Willie?
あら、あなたが言ったのよ。ここは人間しかいない世界だって。すべての現象は人間で解明できるって。
圭一君、ここだけの話だよ。高野さんはね、お社様のたたりをめぐる一連の連続開始事件をね、ひなみ沢の村人が何かの儀式に基づいて行っている人為的殺人事件でないかと見ているんだよ。
Yeah, huh?
誤解しないでね。私はそれに至る教義や思想、文化を民族学的見地から研究することがライフワークなの。別に犯人が誰かなんてことには全く興味がないのよ。そこだけ勘違いしないでちょうだいね。
I could tell only that she was saying some crazy stuff. To use a food analogy, like you force feed a duck to be fattened, then she forced her words down my throat. That's what it felt like.
そもそもそれを理解するためには、ひなみ沢村が鬼ヶ淵村と呼ばれていた古代にまで遡らなければならない。鬼と血を交わらせたと信じる半人半鬼の仙人たちが。
Takano-san, having entered her home field, leaned forward and began to speak of ridiculous matters. Tomaki-san realized she was overdrawing me and interrupted for me.
高野さん、高野さん。その話をいきなり圭一君にしても。ほら、彼も面食らってるよ。
あら、そう？続きに興味があったらいつでも言ってね。
And we worried all about that in chapter 2.
前原くんくらいの年頃の男の子が好きそうな猟奇的なお話がてんこ盛りなんだから。
ありがとうございます。気が向いたらそのうちに。
For now, I softly and safely gave my refusal. Takano-san seemed a little unhappy that Tokuki-san had rained on her parade, but she stopped talking about it then. Evans was still a very interesting story. That Oshiro-sama's curse, which we thought of as strange freak deaths, were really homicides perpetrated by people of the village.
まあ常識的に考えればそうですよね。たたりなんかで人が死ぬはずない。
And the thing is, who are the people causing it? And for what reason?
誰かがたたりになぞらえて殺してるに決まってます。
そうね。それが誰なのかは研究しない方が無難ね。
高野さんは知ってそうですね。証拠はないまでも確信を持っているくらいには。
あら、どうしてそう思うのかしら？
I just kind of felt it vaguely. Didn't seem like her extreme passion for this research would calm down just because these things are taboo, or because it was safer and easier. This person loved walking through the profound, forbidden abyss of risk and taboos.
それくらいにしなよ、圭一君。せっかく助けてあげたのに、またお社様のたたりの話が始まっちゃうよ。涼しいうちに散策に行きたかったのにな。
Tomiki-san seemed a little disappointed not to be able to go on the date he had planned since I brought up a weird topic. But right now, there was something I wanted to ask, just for a little bit, and that was about whether Satoko's uncle will be chosen for the curse this year. If he was, then another miracle would happen just like last year. Terrible incident would happen again, but it would release Satoko from her unfortunate circumstances once more.
まあ、もちろんおそらくあの辺りの人たちが関わってるんだろうなっていう憶測は持ってるわよ。鬼ヶ淵村の歴史を研究していれば自然と至る必然的結末。
それは誰です？
What would I do if I knew? I asked that question to the other me deep inside, but got no reply.
熱心ね。それを知ってどうするつもりかしら？
別に。
知ったらあなたにも危険が降りかかるかもしれないわよ。5年目のたたりはあなただったりして。
Takano-san, toying with taboo, gave a devilish, satisfied smile, as though nothing in the world would be more amusing. She was probably trying to tease me, but I didn't feel like going along with her little game one bit.
偉そうな能書きでもったいぶってますが、高野さんだってよくは分かってないみたいじゃないですか。
I had felt a tinge of irritation in Takano-san's roundabout way of speaking. Those emotions escaped my mouth like water flowing through a steep strainer. Even I was surprised at how directly I had spoken out about what I felt. Of course, I wasn't the only one taken aback.
あら、言ってくれるわね。坊やなのに挑発までできるの？
Stop being mysterious, Takano, goddammit. Stop being a mysterious character.
意外に野生的ね。嫌いじゃないわよ、そういうの。
Takano-san's tongue poked out of her mouth, and I was convinced that it was long, thin, and split in the middle like a snake's.
ならいいわ。教えてあげてもよくってよ。
Wait, huh?
でも教えてあげる前に3つ誓ってもらうわ。 私が何を教えても後悔しない。口外しない。私が言ったなんて絶対言わない。
I gulped, firmly nodded. Tomogi-san made an exaggerated expression of distress, gave a dry, vague smile, and lit a cigarette.
教えてください。たたりを下しているのは誰です？たたる相手を選んでいるのは誰なんです？
Just going to say something like I'll show some or something. And after I said that, I finally realized what I wanted to know. Who is this person, and how do I convince him to kill Satoko's uncle? That's what Ketchi's thinking. Ever since last episode, I've had a sinking suspicion of, like, where Ketchi's gonna, you know, like, where his mind is going to go with, well, final solution. What happened to the aunt last year? She got murdered. Well, what's something we can do that can end this problem permanently? Murder. Many of my classmates were playing football in the schoolyard. I swear to God, if we just skipped over that, I swear to God. A few of them had just run out of the school building after putting on their shoes and tapping their toes to the ground. It looked like they had just finished eating lunch. From a time manipulating standpoint, I guess I succeeded. You better fucking...
前原さん
Ketchy, I swear to God, did we fucking... God damn it. Every fucking mystery game, or just piece of mystery fiction, always does that. It's like, oh, I'll tell you who the big bad is behind it. Fucking just scene transition. God damn it. God damn it, Higurashi. You son of a bitch. Fucking teasing me like that.
大丈夫なんですか？
A few girls noticed me and came running over. It was only natural they were worried. You'd think if someone wasn't there in the morning, they'd be out the rest of the day.
まあ遅刻さ。気にしないでくれ。それより聡子はどうだ？今日は来てるか？
The girls exchanged glances. I saw a thin shadow fall over their faces and knew the answer without needing to hear them reply. Satoko was absent today too. When all was said and done, after being out 3 days, she only come back for 1. Now she was out again. Who knew if she would come tomorrow?
さとこちゃんから電話があったって先生言ってました。
風邪って言ってたよね。みんな家に帰ったらうがいをちゃんとしましょうって先生言ってました。
Wait a minute. Geez, Sensei. It's a little too thick-headed, don't you think? You're a teacher, aren't you? Why can't you be more sensitive and catch on to the fact that your pupil is standing out in the SOS? But even if she did, there was nothing we could hope for. The most she could do was a home visitation. She didn't have any right to take Satoko from her uncle into safety. No matter the result, it would end up like the public agencies with a wait-and-see attitude. It would just piss Satoko's uncle off and her suffering would only grow deeper. Then wasn't saying she had a cold the best option.
そうだな。みんなも風邪に気をつけろよ。もう行っていいぜ。昼休みはまだ長いぞ。
The girls excitedly scouted to the schoolyard.
ケイチくん
Mona was yelling out the classroom window, waving her hand. A moment later, Mia and Rika-chan poked their heads out too.
ケイチまでお休みしましたから、とても心配しましたのですよ。でもよかった。顔色もそんなに悪くないし、とりあえず元気そう。
I felt a little uncomfortable with her saying that I didn't look sick, but I didn't care that much.
どうしたの？寝坊？
遅刻は遅刻だろ。それとも電車の事故で遅刻したとでも言えば許してくれるのか？
寝坊？
Mia was being a bit persistent. Was she going to put on her club president cap and scold me for being late? Well, maybe she didn't have it in it for me, so I briefly stated that she was right.
まだね、お弁当あるよ。みんなで食べよう。 やっぱりね、ケイチくんがいないと盛り上がらないよね。
サトコは休みなんだな。
Even when a feigning cheerfulness couldn't stand to hear that, and her face darkened.
朝、電話があったらしいよ。風がぶり返したから、また休むってさ。長引くかもしれないって言ってた。
Of course.
かわいそうなので、みんなでお見舞いに行こうという話が出ていますのですよ。
何言ってんだよリカちゃん。
Not pleased with Yu-chan wearing a white smile as though it was a happy occasion and I threw cold water on her.
サトコが風邪なんかじゃないことは俺たちが一番知ってるだろう。たとえ冗談でも二度とそういう白々しいことを言うな。次は怒るからな。
Yuki-chan furrowed her brow, looked down, and mumbled an apology.
ケイチくんだけじゃないよ。みんな辛いよ。
俺だけが悩んでるなんて思ってない。でもみんな何もできないのは本当だろ。
それはそうだけど。でも
I got the feeling it would cause another fight if this exchange went on, so I apologized first.
ごめん。謝るから今の話は忘れてくれ。辛いのはみんなも同じだよな。ああ。
It was always clear, however, that I was the only one who had worried so much about rescuing her. At the very least, everyone else probably got the normal amount of sleep last night. Probably had good dreams too. They definitely hadn't stayed up all night thinking so desperately.
投稿してきていきなりこんなこと聞いて気を悪くするかもしれないけど、ケイちゃん今日遅刻したよね。サトコが今日欠席したこととは関係ある？
は？ミオ、お前何の話してるんだ？
ケイちゃんはたまにちょっとつ猛進なところがあるからね。今朝サトコと一緒にケイちゃんも休んだ時、サトコを家から連れ出してどこかにかくまったんじゃないかって本気で思った。
Well, you thought about it. Easy for you to say. If I could have, I'd done that last night. None of them had really thought about how difficult that clear's day solution was. I was up thinking all night, thinking until the night was brightening. And then I concluded that I couldn't do anything of the sort.
バカかお前。人間一人かくまうなんてできるもんかよ。
そうだね。ごめん。気を悪くしたなら謝るよ。
別にいいよ。それより飯にしようぜ。腹が減ってんだ。
Took my bento box out of my bag, and everyone moved to make a spot for me to sit.
前原くん、今来たんですか？
Just as I was about to stick my chopsticks in, Sensei came along.
あ、はい。遅刻してすみません。寝坊しまして。
What the heck? Even the teacher was giving me that strange look.
お弁当を食べたら、院長と前原くんは職員室に来てください。ちょっとお話がありますので。
Probably about Satoko, I thought. Since they left it at that and went back out into the hallway. Interesting.
弁当を食うまでもないだろう。行こうぜ、ミオ。
そうだね。
Mia and I exchanged looks, nodded to each other, and got up.
サトコちゃんの話だろうね。
No doubt about it. They were saying that she had a cold, but everyone in class knew the truth. Didn't think that wouldn't have reached the teacher's ears by now.
僕がずっととぼけるので、僕に聞くのをやめたのでしょう。
Revealing the truth to the teacher would only worsen the situation. Was that why she hadn't said anything? Or was it because she was Satoko's friend and knew that she was trying to endure the trial of her uncle's abuse in order to get her brother to come home.
どうする？今のうちに私たちなりの統一見解を出した方がいいかもね。
リカちゃんはどうしたい？
Me.
Satoko's closest and best friend was Rika-chan. However much I pretended to be her Nini, it didn't come close to the amount of time they'd spent together. So I felt like her opinion should be held in the highest regard.
俺はサトコがどうしておじにいじめられてるのを耐えてるか知ってる。
Everyone looked startled and turned to me.
昔のサトコはいじめられるときっと泣きながら兄の背中に隠れてた。でも結局そのせいで兄が逃げてしまったんだとサトコは思ってる。
誰に聞いたのかな？
監督か。
I nodded quietly.
サトコはおじのいじめに耐えれば兄が帰ってくると信じることによって今を耐え抜こうとしているのかもしれない。でもそんな思い込みとサトシが帰ってくるのは全く無関係なことだ。サトコには悪いがそれが現実だ。
Everyone hung their heads. Everyone was thinking the same thing.
サトコは多分誰の助けも喜ばない。自分一人の力で耐え忍びたいと思ってる。でもそれを尊重してやるのが果たして正しいだろうか。俺は思わない。一時サトコに恨まれることになろうとサトコの意志にかかわらず助けるべき時があると思う。俺はそれが今じゃないかと思ってる。
I told them all about what I saw and how I felt when I went to Satoko's house yesterday.
圭一君は話すべきだと思ってるってことだね。
もちろん公的機関への通報でサトコが保護されるのが確定してからだ。その確認のないうちはサトコをかえって危険にさらすこともありえるからな。
難しいね。先生との会話の中でその確約ってのが取れるわけ？
I had no confidence, but we had to try. Meanwhile, Wika-chan had her hand ways for a while, as if asking for an opportunity to speak.
圭一に任せますです。
いいのかいリカちゃん。
圭一はここにいる誰よりも聡子のことを考えていますです。その圭一が話すべき時だと判断したなら僕は文句なんか言わないのですよ。
ありがとう。ミオンもレナもそれでいいか？
Mion seemed to hesitate, not knowing if she should agree. But when she saw Wena's firm nod, she made up her mind and did the same.
よし行くぞミオン。
うん。
Only Chi-sensei was in the teacher's lounge. We didn't see the principal anywhere. The schedule on the backboard under the principal's name said training going straight home. Our principal's sense of justice was too strong. Satoko's problems wouldn't be solved with something so vague. Maybe it was a stroke of good luck that he wasn't here. When the teacher saw Mion and I come in, she closed up her curry bento, saving the rest for later.
そこへおかけなさい。
She told us to take a seat in the chairs directly in front of the principal's seat. I hadn't sat in this chair since doing the paperwork for transferring in. Two of us sat there, uncomfortably, before the teacher walked over carrying a notebook and a ballpoint pen and sat in front of us.
前原くん、今日は午前中お休みでしたけど、何かありましたか？
すみません、寝坊です。
本当に？
先生に嘘言っても。
She narrowed her eyes at me in suspicion. Now I was sure of it. She wanted to talk about Satoko.
まず2人とも知ってると思いますけど、お友達の北条さんがここしばらくお休みしてますね。
Neither Mian nor I had anything to say in response, but the teacher proceeded, not minding.
何か知っていますか？クラスで良くない噂をしている人たちがいます。
Mian looked down and remained silent as though she were being lectured. She sent me a quick glance. Everyone had made up their minds. They'd be believing things to me.
委員長、前原くんも。先生は別に怒ってるんじゃありませんよ。もしも知っていたら教えてほしいとお願いしているだけです。
先生、先にこっちから質問してもいいですか？
She must have not anticipated that response. She looked surprised.
クラス中で聡子のどんな噂が飛び交ってるかは知りませんが、仮にその噂が真実だったとして先生はどうするつもりですか？
どうするもこうするも、その話が本当なら放っておけません。
放っておけないって具体的にはどう放っておけないんですか？
Sensei's eyebrows shot up. Maybe I said it like I was trying to pick a fight.
前原くん、先生は真面目にお話ししてるんですよ。
先生こそ、俺はすごく真面目な話をしているんです。まず答えてください。真実だったとしてどう放っておけないんです？
Sensei took a few breaths and began to speak slowly.
まず状況を確かめるために北条さんの家を家庭訪問します。
おじに怒鳴りつけられて追い返されるかもしれませんね。まあいいや、仮におじと聡子に会えたとします。それで
そして真意を聞きます。その事実が確認できたなら指導します。
指導って曖昧な言い方はやめてください。具体的には何をするんですか？
Even despite my tone being so proactive, Chie-sensei bit back her emotions and listened calmly. I thought that she was a good teacher. Chie-sensei really did have her students' best interests at heart, but she didn't have the power or the authority to save Satoko. If she let her sense of justice run away with her, the situation could get more complex. Sensei folded her arms. For a few moments she closed her eyes as though mentally concentrating. When they opened again, there was a strictness in her eyes I'd never seen before.
児童福祉法という法律があります。この法律で児童に対する虐待は何人に対しても認められていないことが明記されています。
らしいですね。それで
沖宮の生活相談所へ通報します。さっき前原くんは追い返されると言いましたね。この相談所の職員は必要に応じて警察官を同行させることができます。恫喝には絶対に屈しません。
その福祉士というお役所の人は連絡して書類で申請して何日後に助けに来てくれるんです？
即日です。彼らの仕事は児童の安全を緊急に保護することですから。
知ってますよ。緊急性があると判断された場合ですよね。認められなかったら先生と同じ指導をして様子見をするんですよね。見てるだけ。聡子のおじの機嫌を悪くして聡子をその場に残したまま、それっきり。
ケイちゃん、ちょっと言い過ぎ。
嘘はついてないだろ。去年だか一昨年だかに児童相談所が来た時がまさにそうだったんだろう。その結果どうなった？俺よりもミオンや先生の方がよっぽどよく知ってるだろうが。
I had said too much. I didn't need Mion to tell me that. I was talking crazy and itching for a fight. I was supposed to be telling her about the situation only after I was sure we could save Satoko, but I basically told her everything right from the start. Chi-sensei looked at the clock, stood up, and picked up the phone at the principal's seat.
もしもし、内線の3455をお願いします。いいの？ケイちゃん。本当に大丈夫かな？
It was too late. The die had been cast. And I could only pray.
お世話になっております。ひなみ沢文庫教諭の千恵と申しますが、指導室の渡辺主事はいらっしゃいますでしょうか？はい、ええ。ちょっと急用がございまして、至急校長と連絡が取りたいのですが。はい、お願いします。緊急とお伝えください。よろしくお願いします。
Teacher put down the phone and tilted her head back and took a breath like I always did.
二人にもう一度だけ聞きます。クラスのみんなの噂は全て本当なんですね？
はい。俺は昨日聡子の家に行って実際にどういうことになっているのか見ました。
あとは先生に任せてください。聡子ちゃんはきっと先生が何とかします。
なんとか？いい加減なことを言わないでください。なんとかじゃない。絶対でなければならない。もしもまた様子見なんてことになったら、先生はどう責任を取るつもりですか？
While I was yelling, the phone rang. Chi-sensei snatched the receiver up first.
もしもし。あ、研修中申し訳ありません。はい、実は例の北条聡子さんの件でお話が。はい。
Sensei waved us away, telling us we could leave now. Mian went to leave, but I held my ground. I had a responsibility to make sure she stopped saying such vague, ambiguous things. If it didn't look like she was going to say anything substantial, then I'd tell them the truth, even if I had to steal the phone from her.
はい。いえ、まだ相談所には。はい。まだ確認はしていませんが、クラスのこの話では相当な様子です。
相当なんてもんじゃないぞ。すぐにだ。今すぐ何とかしろ。通報するならどこへだっていい。でもな、もしも様子見なんてことになってみろ。ただじゃ済まさないからな。
I yelled angrily at Sensei and the principal on the other end. I wanted to somehow, some way, convey to them just how dangerous her situation was right now.
それは分かっています。ちゃんと伝えますから。委員長、前原君を連れて教室に戻りなさい。あ、はい。行くよ、ケイちゃん。あとは先生たちに任せよ。
絶対だぞ。
Till the very last moment, I glared at Sensei. Chie-sensei was feeling pressured by the likes of me. Idiot. This isn't the time to feel pressured. Now's the time when he gave me a firm nod to reassure me. Even so, we're already left things in our hands. At this point, we really can't do anything but pray. Bang. Mion shut the door to the teacher's lounge. Now we have to wait and see if the situation gets better, or if what I think is going to happen, it's going to get worse, then we're going to have to go to our Kechi is going to go to the extreme. God, the writing in this chapter is good. These last couple of sections, they're really good. I really like the writing. It feels real. This actually feels real, you know. Like it it's so good, you know. It also helps as one of the comments I read a couple episodes ago was the author was a social worker, so he would know how like people or like, you know, people would deal in like child abuse situations or a little bit. And because of that background, it gives more realism to these sections. Because I've never been through the situation before, thankfully. But like, once you know like someone's being abused, and you try all you can to like stop it in any way you can, contact authorities, but in many unfortunate cases they just say wait and see, and just turns into something horrible. But yeah, if you guys enjoy this type of content, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. Want to tell me something? Put that in the comments below. Or check out the Discord server I own in, or my Twitter. Check the description below. Yeah, this has been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!